Starting.
Hi, everyone. As you're logging in, if you could please type in your first name and the city you're logging in from, and then one bonus question. If you currently have a data portfolio, and all of this, please in the chat. So make sure it's sending to everyone, not just, I think there's like an option to only either send to like the hosts or yourself. So just make sure it goes to everyone. So hey, James from Haymarket, and you do not. That's fine. That's literally what this workshop is for. So welcome, welcome. Haymarket, Virginia, is that right? I'm like, is it all wrong? Okay, perfect. Okay, as everyone's logging in, I'm seeing there's 22 participants, so we can definitely contribute to this chat, but first name, city you're logging in from, and whether you have your portfolio or not. And this doesn't mean like a completed portfolio, just like maybe something that kind of resembles one. Oh, they're coming in. Okay, Asia, North Carolina, you do not. Again, perfect. Priscilla. Oh, Virginia, we have two Virginias. Is Haymarket and Fairfax, are those close? Don't know the distance, but trying to figure that out. And also do not. Brian, Cincinnati. Brian, you're in the right spot. Justine, Justin, hope I said that right. Boston, Massachusetts. Eddie, North Carolina. I feel like I just read another North Carolina. Charlotte, you're also from North Carolina. Okay, cool. I always like to see where people are like close in proximity, right? I think I lost my spot. Oh, Heather, Connecticut, you do not. It's all good. Amanda from Edison, Rosie Annis, Miami, have fun. Oh, about 21 miles. Okay, that's not bad at all. Nigeria, Logan from New Jersey. We have Mona from Connecticut. Disha from Swedesboro. We have, oh, Sharon, hey girl, I'm from New York. Erica from North Carolina. Okay, you guys are all coming in. I love that. Charles, Brooklyn. Trudy One, Ohio. Oh, another Ohio. Trudy One, I don't know if you're close to Gavaskar, but maybe also. But okay, I think we can get started. But definitely as you're coming in, feel free to introduce yourself, maybe say hi to that neighbor of yours, and let's go ahead and get started. Great. So just some logistics before we get into the good stuff, but you can feel free to ask questions throughout the session using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So that should be close to the chat button on your guys' screen. So again, that one's solely dedicated to all of your questions. We will also take live questions at the very end. So if we don't get to your question right in the moment that you ask it, don't worry, there's a whole dedicated section at the very end. And just keep in mind, a recording of today's session will be emailed to you tomorrow. So feel free to take notes, but if you also want to kind of sit back, relax, also feel free to do that because you will get the whole session tomorrow. Great. So today's workshop's focused on creating a data portfolio. And introduction, some of you may know me. I may work with some of you as a career coach. Some of you may know me from an instructor capacity, but I work at Pathstream under the data program, so all things data. And I'm joined today by Emily, who's going to introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Angie. Many of you, I don't know if I've met you in a meeting before, but my name is Emily Weiner. I'm the Career Services Operations Specialist. I joined Pathstream almost 2.5 months ago. So still getting into the groove of things, loving it. If you recognize my name, you probably seen my name in answering the career services email inbox. I am the person who manages that. So if you ever reach out to career services in general, I am the one answering that. Now, hopefully you can put a face to my name. But I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited that all of you are here as well. And before I hand it back over to Andy, I just want to high level share what today's goal is. And so Andy is going to be leading most of it. I will be here in the background. So as Andy said, type any questions in the Q&A. I'll answer them in the moment or at the end. And the main goal for today is just to go over examples and tips from different data portfolios so that you can build your own data portfolios and feel confident and excited and ready to share it. So that's what we're here for, and we're so excited that you're here.
Thanks, Emily. All right, let's go ahead. My mouse is not cooperating. Okay, cool. So the agenda today is going to look a little bit like this. We're going to get into just like the 101 about what a data portfolio is. We're going to go into showcasing different types of portfolios you can have. If I've talked to you about like the portfolio world for data, this might be more of a refresher. If you've never kind of explored what it is that a data portfolio can contain, this is good information to kind of encompass all the work you've done either in the certificate or you're doing in the certificate, or any kind of independent projects you're doing. So getting started with what is a data project portfolio. It is a digital representation of your technical knowledge. So what this does, it allows you to showcase those projects you've worked on, and it highlights your technical skills that are typically desired by a data employer. A great quote right here that I think is something to kind of keep in mind as you're creating your data portfolio, or a lot of the times the questions I get are, like, is it helpful? Is it not? Should I include it as part of kind of my job search, right? Essentially, if you don't have formal experience as a data professional, a portfolio is one of the best ways to showcase your data skills. This gives that future employer visibility into the type of projects you've completed, the tools you've used, and some of the data you've worked with. Talking about your experience is great, but showcasing that work firsthand is even better. So again, your resume could have all your skills like SQL, Excel, Tableau, all of that. But the employer is kind of, reviewing a lot of these different resumes that may look similar. Having you stand out as a candidate with that portfolio and then like showing kind of that final product is just a really great way to not only stand out as a candidate, but also almost allow that future employer to kind of trust the skills if you don't have that formal experience as a data professional. So you can use a portfolio to showcase all types of works. And this isn't just data, right? You can do it for more art-related types of careers, maybe marketing, anything like that. But for today, we're going to focus on data-related project portfolios. And some of the more desirable data skills employers are typically want to see are anything related to Google Workspace or Excel, Tableau, SQL, or other code, or just like kind of an end-to-end project. So what I mean by that is really something from the beginning, more like conceptual, maybe brainstorming, getting the project together to kind of sharing the insights at the end, right? Kind of all of it together. And a lot of the questions are always like, okay, I have all these different pieces. I'm excited. I did all the hard work. Now, where do they go? Where do I put them? Is there one place to be able to essentially host all of these projects? And this is kind of what we're going to go through today. So starting with Google Workspace. One of the ways in which you can display your different types of Google Workspace projects, which would include Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Docs. So if you've taken the business analytics course through our certificate, essentially that project in that course, if you want to kind of be able to put that in a hostable place, one simple way to do that is keeping it within Google Drive. Essentially, that gives you a link that you're able to use, share, and then someone's able to kind of look at your work and even dive into it in kind of more detail if they really want to. Something really great about Google Drive is also that it can host other types of files here. So, for example, this can be Excel files. It will convert them into either like this kind of mutation of Excel using Google Drive, but it's still nonetheless Excel. And images, right? Maybe there are images that you wanted to include. It could also host CSV files, all of those things that are really great. Pro of this is the different formats it can hold. Typically, even if someone is not as technical, they're able to navigate Google Workspace. A con of this is it's not as sophisticated of a tool to host your projects. So it's still great if you're like short on time and you want to essentially be able to put something together quickly to be able to share, because like the important thing is having this thing to share, right? You did all the hard work, you want something to have it hosted. Google Workspace or Google Drive, I guess, is a great way to do so. So let's look at an example. And not to call anyone out right here, but Sharon, I loved your example that we went through in career services. So this might look a little familiar, but something that you can do is something like what you're seeing right here. So for example, one of your fellow classmates / colleagues created her data portfolio using Google Drive. So for this particular case, we're only going to really focus on the Google Workspace type files. So if you did the listings 1, 2, 3 project, you'll know the name, you'll recognize it. But as you can see, you can organize them into folders. You can put them into kind of whatever organization you want, but you can click into it. And I'm so sorry, my internet is so laggy today, but as we're clicking into it, you'll see that it's going to have the different formats of the project. So if you remember that project, if it's been a while for you, it has, I believe, like slide decks, right? The format of a slide. It has the sheets versions. Yes, here we go. So it has 2 sheets and 2 slides. So this easily allows you to be able to share these files. And this can either be something where someone can comment, someone can just view, someone can edit. You can manipulate the settings to however you want. And so this is great, better than, for example, screenshots of something and having to send that over. It's a little bit more dynamic. And it really works great for example, Excel, Google Sheets, slides, those types of projects. So highly encourage you to use Google Drive for that. And it should already be in a Google Drive type format if you completed listings 1, 2, 3. Great, let's go back over here. This is a really popular one, and one I would really say, if you haven't, or if you're considering a portfolio and you're like, I don't know if I have the time, the capacity, whatever it may be. If there's just one bit of the portfolio that you work on, it's going to be your Tableau version. It's very simple to kind of have this very sophisticated looking portfolio with low effort on your end, because you already did the projects. If you did the Tableau course with our certificate. So let's jump into it really quickly. So for example, one of the skills that are really desirable are showcasing data visualization skills. So this type of portfolio would include Tableau files, so workbook files, and any kind of data files that are in there, right? And this would be hosted on Tableau Public. If you've seen Tableau Public, it probably has given you examples of visualizations, whatever it may be, but it also is a really great way to kind of have your own little profile on there. So an example as this is loading up, great. So an example of this is essentially, again, a past student has uploaded their projects from the course, but also independent projects, right, to Tableau Public. So this student has their particular profile right here. So they have their picture, their name, they could link their LinkedIn to it if they want. And what's really interesting is the visualization aspect. So if you go down here, if you guys have worked on this particular course, you might recognize, for example, a Tableau story with World Bank data. That name may be familiar. So if we click into it, unlike other types of hosting tools, this allows it to be dynamic. So in the same way that you created it within the course, this is going to be interactive, dynamic, and again, you can share it with whoever you need to share it with. And a lot of the times it's really great to add this to add like the easy link it gives you to, for example, your LinkedIn, your resume, but we'll talk about that in more depth a little bit later. But as I was talking, it's interactive. You can play around with these different things way better than a static image. And you get your own more sophisticated type of like URL profile code. So enough of looking at the example. Let's approach this in two ways. So the first thing we're actually going to do is we're going to watch a quick little video. It's like a minute or so that I want to share of just a quick overview of publishing to Tableau Public. And then I'm going to walk through an example of kind of one of your projects being published to my profile so that you can kind of see if it looks any similar to something you've done. And then after that, we're going to go through some common errors that you might be running into. Just a heads up, make sure that before you try any of this, you email your instructors asking them for the downloadable versions of your Tableau projects, because then you won't have anything to upload. So yes, please have those downloadable versions. They should be the workbooks. And I believe when they email them to you, they're going to be zip files. But yes, please, you already did the hard work. You don't want to do double the hard work. But let's go ahead and watch this first.
The next step is to go to the Server tab on the toolbar.
Can we hear this?
Go all the way to the bottom Hover over Tableau Public and choose Save to Tableau Public As. This will prompt you to sign into Tableau Public. Go ahead and do that.
Sorry guys, my computer's acting up. We'll get to it. 1 second. As you can see, 2 seconds, so fast, right? You did all the hard work. So, okay, let's try this out, right? Easier said than done. So actually, I think I'm gonna have to stop my share and share my whole screen. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Can we see this okay?
We can see the video still. Is that what you want?
Yeah. So what we're gonna want to do is before like having all of this onto Tableau Public, like the website, you're gonna want to download Tableau Public, like the desktop version. So this is one way to approach it. And of course, you guys, it's taking a little second, but so Tableau Public Desktop or Tableau Desktop Public, it's the free version of Tableau Desktop. So it's going to look very similar interface to what you guys have been working on, just have a couple of its functionalities that are not able to work. Great. So what you're going to want to do now is make sure you have your zip file, your downloads of your project. So if you can see right here, my downloads, I have this download down here, which is NYC real estate data. And this is .twbx. That is the notebook that we're going to be using today. So go to File, Open. And we're going to be clicking on that workbook. It's essentially opening up that whole workbook. This will include any of the data it had associated to it, any of the visualizations it had associated to it, everything in that project of yours, right? And so you can play around with it. You can edit it as you see fit, whatever, before publishing onto Tableau Public, like the website. And then you're going to want to put Save to Tableau Public. So File and Save to Tableau Public. And it's going to prompt you to sign in. So if you haven't already, it's going to make you make a Tableau Public account. And so sorry again for the lag. Usually it's much faster than this. I was actually telling Emily that my poor computer is like huffing and puffing right now. It's on its last days, I think. So send good vibes over here. But so right now what it was doing was just sending over to Tableau Public. And then because I've already signed in and have done this a bit, right now it's sending. and it should automatically pop open a window, right, with your new Tableau workbook, and it'll have all the information. You can edit your details as you see fit. And then if you go to your profile, you'll have your workbook right there. So super easy. Highly recommend that you do this, please, because it just looks so great. And as you can see, it was very simple to just kind of upload it onto your Tableau public workbook or Tableau public profile, and just kind of showcase all that hard work you already did. So please definitely do this. And then if you don't want to do any other bits of your portfolio, I just think the Tableau portion of it is really great. And I'm actually going to delete that because that was one of your guys' projects and I do not want to be taking credit for that. So I'm going to delete that bit. But yeah, so that's what it would look like on that end. But I'm going to go back to the other screen. So going back to the others. One second. Okay. A couple things to keep in mind. So the first important thing we've been getting a lot of questions about here, or at least instructors has been around kind of the way your zip files have been downloading to your email. So sometimes when downloading these zip files from your email, it's not going to look like a zip file. It's a little weird. It doesn't auto kind of classify with certain computers. So it's still okay when you click on it, it still should, or when you click and download it, it still should auto extract, meaning like open up. So zip file is essentially like a compressed version of all the files that are within that workbook. So if you get that issue, please try just clicking, downloading it, even though it looks a little bit strange and doesn't have the .zip format. And if you're still getting that issue, please first try to contact like a data career coach. And if that's not working, a data instructor. So we can work that out. Another issue we're getting, so if you're getting an issue around live data connections or around extracts, so let's say the process didn't go as smooth as the one I showed you, there's this problem where Tableau, like the commercial premium version of it, allows for live data connections, but Tableau Public does not allow for live connections. So you're going to have to extract your data sources into that .twbx file for the file to work on Tableau Public. Now, this also kind of depends on the computer you're working sometimes for the way in which these files are downloading on your computer. So in the case that it's not working and you are going to have to extract your data sources, there's a couple ways you can attack this before kind of approaching for additional support. One of the first ways is getting the trial version of Tableau Desktop. So Tableau Desktop can convert these files for you easily, and you'll still follow the same process of saving to the Tableau public profile. So you can easily do that. Or if you're still having issues, or if you've already used your free trial, again, either contact your data career coach or the data instructors, and we can get that situated for you. So yeah, those are two of the most common errors that we see with kind of trying to upload to Tableau. But other than that, or your Tableau public profile, but other than that, again, it shouldn't feel like a whole other project in itself. You already did all the hard work. Okay, so SQL. Some of you have taken the SQL course. here for either with Pathstream, or maybe you've done some other work independently that has to do with any kind of code. So this doesn't just have to be SQL. This doesn't have to be Python. Maybe you've done R, maybe you've done HTML, maybe you've done whatever it may be, right? Some version of coding. There's a way more sophisticated tool to host this than essentially like Google Drive, right? You could host code on Google Drive, but it'll not be like the industry way to do so. If you want to kind of demonstrate that you're familiar with code and the way that like the industry would kind of share it with others in the industry, you're going to want to host it on GitHub. So with GitHub, I'm going to show an example and then we can walk right into it. So GitHub looks a little bit like this. Not the most beautiful, but it's very, very effective. So there are these things called repositories, which are essentially like folders on steroids. They're super, super amazing. And if you've done, let's say, the Let's Meet Data project in Pathstream, then this may look a little familiar. But when you click into the folder, really the appropriate name for it is repository, it allows you to host all your different files in the file type that it should be. So as you can see, these are .SQL files. And if it were like Python notebooks, it's be .ipynb or .py if it was Python, whatever it may be. If you had CSV files, .csv, it doesn't convert it to something else. It keeps it within the code. You can have kind of like this little intro README page, which essentially tells you all about that repository. And if you click into one of the files, again, usually much faster than this, it will take you to the code itself. And again, this looks a lot more manageable to read code-wise. If this was really huge, it'd be like numbered accordingly. And for those people that are like programmers, whatever it may be, they can automatically send their code onto GitHub, store it, and then also pull it back in case they need to work on whatever with their team. So this is really like an industry standard. But if you're like, hey, how do I do this? Like, how can I create something like this? So first you're going to want to create an account on GitHub. And then essentially, if you want to have the best organization, you're probably going to want to create a repository for each of your folders, projects, whatever it may be, right? So for my current thing, I'm going to go to my profile so you guys could kind of see what's going on, and that could kind of be our baseline, like kind of where we're starting. So as you can see, I don't have any repositories right now in my Pathstream folder. So what I did is I clicked on repositories and I want to click on new. And let's call this SQL let's meet, because that's the name of the project. You can add a description. You can put it public or private. I'm just going to put it private for right now. You can add a README file. So that's that file that we were looking at that kind of had the description about what it goes in the repository. I always recommend including this, especially if the purpose of your GitHub is kind of to share with external people, because it gives them insight into what that project was about. And then you just create your repository. So that's a README file. You're going to have to, edit it. But what you can do is you can go to add a file and upload files. And you can choose your files. I believe, yeah. So I'm uploading a file and you can add descriptions, whatever it may be, but then I'm going to click commit changes. And our file is now in there. And if you want, you can click on it. And as you can see, the code is currently in there. Now, I do want to call out that the way we upload it on here is more of a manual way. There is a way to do this a lot more through like a specific IDE and doing it solely through code. But for the purpose of kind of what we learn in the certificate and for your portfolio, it's best just to do it manually right now. And if you have additional time, please, by all means, learn how to kind of be able to upload the data differently. But for right now, manual is more than okay. You can't tell the difference when sharing your links for your different projects. So yeah, that's how you would do that there. And let me see what's going on in the chat.
I can read it aloud.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the first thing Edward brought up is something just to be aware of: a free GitHub account you have to post public. If you have the paid version, you have to post privately. And then the question we had was, how do we format SQL to code to .SQL? Because our SQL project is sent as a PDF, I think.
It shouldn't be sent as a PDF, but Sharon, you can ask your instructor to make sure to send it as a .SQL file. If that's not working, then we can kind of take this offline. And then Edward, I can look into this. I think maybe I've only worked on paid versions of GitHub, so we can look into exploring the private version of that. But that's a really great call out. Thank you. Great. And then finally, the end-to-end type of projects. So this would include all the projects you just looked at. I showed you how many different websites to host. At this point, you're like, whoa, like what's going on? Which one do I choose? Which one's better? I mean, you can choose all of them, right? They are all meant for different purposes. Unfortunately, the data analyst type of skill set includes all of them. But if you want like one organized way to be able to host all the things you just learned to host, we recommend personal websites. So something like Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, any of those. There's probably way more, but those are some of the ones that I know could give like free memberships. But let's look at an example. One of our past students. But this is a really great example of her personal website. So she's included her projects. And essentially what each of her projects has is a little bit about what the business problem was, what the questions were that, she's able to answer, and just a little bit more information about each of the projects. The great thing too is you can click on all of these. So for example, this one would lead you out to her GitHub. That's going to take forever, but yes, GitHub. And then if you keep scrolling down, this one's the exploratory data analysis, talks a little bit about the tools used, and again, more information about that particular project. And if you click into that, again, takes a second, but this one was hosted also through, I believe, the website itself, because it's a PDF. So again, just the doc itself. And then if you scroll down, also the data visualization one, kind of same format. As you can see, there's organization as an external kind of audience. You know what to expect for each project in terms of like descriptions. And then also they have the appropriate formatting for each project when you go out and click externally. So this is a really great way to do so. And she used the appropriating hosting websites for each project based on the type of skill you use. So yeah, this is a really great way to kind of do it as well. But full transparency, this does take a good amount of work. So if you're like, hey, like, I don't know if that's the path for me. I've seen both someone that has like, just let's say the Tableau portfolio, and someone who has a website portfolio be able to find like similar quality types of roles. So don't want to say that one could definitely land you more of a job. Maybe it could, but hasn't been exceptionally proven. And then kind of just some bonus things I wanted to point out. So I had mentioned LinkedIn a little bit earlier. But you can easily upload essentially projects to your LinkedIn. And one of the best places to do it, aside from, you know, the experience and the education side and the projects section, is this featured section. So if you've never played around with the featured section, I'll show you an example. It essentially is one of the first things you see when you go to someone's LinkedIn, and it allows you to be able to link, to click out externally to that project. Again, we love all these things that are hosting our projects. And the thing with the other parts of the project sections in LinkedIn is they're more descriptive in terms of like words, right? So they don't necessarily have an easy link system for our projects, but the featured section is perfect for this. So again, this is one of our ex-students, but when it's all loaded, you'll see it looks very nice, but okay, there we go. So we're on the featured section. You can link out to essentially any link. As you can see, this student here, or past student, has their certificate and has the links to their Tableau projects. So if you click on this and then click on view, it links you out directly to the Tableau portfolio. It's a really great way to kind of showcase in that way. And again, so sorry for the lag here, but as you can see, very similar to the other kind of Tableau projects we were looking, has a dynamic factor, has a kind of more sophisticated tool and direct relationship with the Tableau projects you were doing. And the great thing about this is it's right on your LinkedIn. Another thing is making sure to display this on your resume. So whether this means specific projects from the certificate, independent projects, other educational experiences, make sure they're on your resume. Also make sure that the links to your portfolios are on your resume or portfolio. Ideally one, or not like a million, but like, you know, make sure those are on your portfolios, because you want, on your resume, because you want to showcase all the work that you've done. So especially if, again, no formal data work in the past, this is a really great way to do so. But we've gotten to the end now. I know that was so much information, but I really do appreciate you sitting through that, but hope you learned a bit or two. But right now we have our Q&A, so feel free to brainstorm some questions. Maybe something came up while you were listening to a bit about the different portfolio. So I'll stop talking, give you a minute or so, and please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A portion of Zoom.
I saw someone just raise their hand and then I don't know where it went. So I didn't catch the name. I guess if you could just type your questions in the chat. Oh, wait. Maybe it's here. Okay. You can lower your hand and also ask your question. Or if someone else has another question in the chat, raise your hand and I can unmute you. Okay, we have one question. When is the SQL course? It's SQL course.
Both, Emily, both. It's data controversy. This is Amazon, correct? So it depends, but if this is our Amazon, yes, great. So if this is our Amazon cohort, you have an optional SQL course at the end of your certificate. So highly, highly recommend that you take advantage of that. I will have to get confirmation of how you can opt into that, or if they just send it to you automatically. Or actually, Sharon, not to call you out again, but did you have to opt into that manually, or did they just enroll you in the SQL course automatically? Oh, I have no idea.
You can.
Okay, can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I had to write to the support because like my SQL course was grayed out, so I wasn't able to click on it. And also it's optional, but it really isn't optional, because when I inquired about my project after I completed Tableau course, I wasn't given one because they asked me to complete my SQL course before they sent it to me, saying that I haven't completed the whole course. So even though it says it's optional, it isn't. So you still have to finish it for the certificate to be considered completed, if that makes sense.
That's a really good insight, Sharon. So I think that would be a glitch on our side, because it should be considered optional for you without that course at all. So I'm sorry you had that experience. We will definitely.
No, it's okay. I was gonna do it anyways. So
You're like, I'm doing it anyways. Yeah, but anyone who's listening, who is thinking about doing it or maybe not doing it, you will still receive the certificate if you haven't completed SQL. But I still highly recommend you complete SQL. It's a really great, or at least, dip your toes in there. It's a really great experience. But it sounds like maybe it's already going to be a part of your kind of course catalog when you're in there, Roseanne's. But if it's not, then I would recommend that you reach out to our student enrollment, and they can help kind of get that onto your list of courses, and that goes to anyone as well. Let's see, how can we how can we get and save the previous submitted projects from Tableau? Great question. So I believe you're referring to the ones you submitted like through the course. If that's the case, please email the instructor email and say, hey, I would love to get the downloadable versions of my projects. They should know. They get this question very often, so they'll essentially know what to do. And you can do it for any and all courses. So if depends what courses you're enrolled in, but if you're in, let's say SQL, Tableau, you can just say all courses, and they'll send you all the links for the courses you're enrolled in and you've completed.
Okay,
Let's
and
see. It's a big, where you say to link one project on your resume, can you link a GitHub repository as a master folder with other folders and subfolders? Kind of a sly way to submit multiple folders. Edward, that's a great question. I would recommend kind of submitting your whole kind of profile at that point if you're able to. If it's not going to be sensitive kind of material in there for you, that would include multiple repositories still in an organized way, right? And it still has kind of that cleanliness factor. I guess what I meant kind of with, oh, don't submit multiple is it gets a little disorganized when you submit like the separate Tableau, the separate Google Drive link, the separate GitHub one. You can definitely do it, but ideally, the more condensed, the better, right? But yeah, I think, Edward, if you can submit kind of like the whole profile, that link, ideally that would be better. And Sheila, what about Python code? What do we need experience on it? So it depends if like data is really what you want to pursue. Yeah, kind of like Edward said, Python is a key code language. There's this kind of controversy of like, oh, should I learn Python? Should I learn R? I'm kind of team Python, but you can definitely read all about it. When you're learning Python, though, it's very important that you kind of look into Python meant for data, because Python is also used for just general programming. So this would include kind of libraries like pandas or matplotlib or like Seaborn and things like that, right? So just make sure that the Python is intended for like data purposes. But in terms of like, do you absolutely need Python to get a data role? No, but does it get you a higher likelihood? Yes, especially if you want to work in like a more traditional data analyst role. More and more roles are requiring Python now. Sharon, you can't add Tableau or Keynote project to GitHub, right? No. To my understanding, you cannot do that. I believe they only host coded visualizations. So I would have to look into that. If anyone knows, let me know. But no, as of right now, my understanding is GitHub cannot host Tableau. Any other questions? Okay. Well, kind of plugging career services right now, but you guys should really sign up for free career services. I know I kept calling out Sharon over here, but I think we really developed a special little bond through career services, and we were able to work through bits of kind of her job search, and definitely want to do that with a lot more of you. So please sign up for career services. And if you're a little hesitant or you still have other questions, or, you know, whatever it may be, you can feel free to email us at career-services@pathstream.com, and one of our career team members will answer any of your questions. All right, guys. Well, that's it from us. Thank you so, so much. And hopefully see you in a career coaching call.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.